When I was a kid, I grew up in this Indian home, with parents that had immigrated from the United States, from India to the United States to achieve the dream. And along the way, I had heard lots of stories about my grandfather, who was a freedom fighter against the British in India for India's revolution, independence. And he struggled, and then the economy was in struggle, was in chaos when India gained independence. And so my family, in India really had hard times. And I used to hear all these stories from my dad. And then my mom and dad immigrate here with basically nothing. They had $8 in their pocket. And this is obviously a very common story, I think, for a lot of immigrants who come here with nothing to achieve the dream. And in my case, my parents both worked really hard and got lots of graduate degrees and ended up doing real estate. And in the 80s, I guess you would say they made it in the sense that like traditional notions of success here in the United States is, making a lot of money. And certainly all of my family in India thought this was the definition of success. And so they came, they made it. We lived in the premier neighborhood in Miami called Gables Estates on the ocean. Uh, by all accounts, I was kind of a spoiled child in that respect. And I watched my parents like work really, really hard to get there. So I understood work ethic, but then they lost everything in the late 80s during the real estate crisis. And I remember being a senior in high school, March of my senior year in high school, right before prom, and we had to move out of that house. And we lost the home to foreclosure, and my parents had to file bankruptcy. And I remember as an 18-year-old girl thinking to myself, you know what? I'm going to avoid the struggle that I have learned about my grandparents, that I have watched my parents experience. And in order to avoid the struggle, I'm just going to be the perfect, good little girl, right? There is no such thing as perfect, but I was just the good girl. Like I always colored between the lines. I thought I would never go off the path. And so I just thought if I got the best grades and went to all the best schools and got the awards and got a good job and made a lot of money, I could avoid the struggle. Of course, that's not how life works, right? All of you know, because I'm sure all of you have heard the story that I ended up in federal prison. It's been 9 years since I've come out. And so I have spent the last 9 years, almost a decade, deconstructing, understanding how did I go so off path? And what I have come to understand and finally owned is that I had spent so long and so much of my time trying to avoid the struggle or pretending not to be struggling, when in fact, the universal truth is that we will all struggle. And struggle looks differently to all of us. And many of us struggle at various points in our lives, or sometimes we're struggling with various things all at once, but we will all struggle. We cannot avoid it. And it might be a financial issue, a legal issue, a marital issue, a medical issue, right? Like I've dealt with various things across my life. I have obviously been in a legal crisis and case and a financial crisis because of that, and I lost my freedom. I also lost my sister 5 years ago to mental health. So not only was that another struggle for me, but also, of course, for my parents, and that was really hard. I also lost the love of my life 5 years ago to cancer. So it's not that you go through one struggle and then that's it. Like you've reached your quota for life. We will all go through lots of different things. Sometimes it's unexpected. Sometimes it's just the possibility of change that feels like struggle, whether it's at work or at home and or in our communities. The world is full of uncertainty right now. And so how we're going to go through that struggle is something that every single one of us, whether we work or we not, whether we're leaders at work or we're not, although I believe we are all leaders in some way, how we go through the struggle is how we grow. It's being in those uncomfortable moments. And I believe after all of this research that I've done and recognizing sort of the blind spots that I had and how I could have made better decisions, and I've created this decision-making strategy. To me, I've created this three-part framework called the Rise Through It framework. And it's embrace, let go, and then dare. And if we just follow these three steps in every moment, iteratively, constantly, right? We don't just rise through it once. We are every single day rising through it. I wake up every single day and I have to remind myself, I am an ex-felon. I will be judged by others, but I have grown through these moments. I have become a better human. hopefully I'm teaching my kids to be better humans. And hopefully I'm becoming a better parent along the way and inspiring all of you to rise through your moments, right? Because it's not if, it's when. And so don't avoid the struggle. Don't just rise above and move on, because that's just escaping it. When we face those struggles, when we rise through them, that's how we grow. Really, that's the human experience. So embrace the pain, own it, acknowledge that it's there, feel it in your bones. Then you let go of it. You let go of the ego that's holding you back, that's causing the pain. You let go of the fear that's keeping you back so you can find the courage. You let go of control, because honestly, we don't have control over so much. And if you ask my ex-husband, he'll tell you I'm a control freak. But when you let go of control, that makes us better patient people with better, higher conviction. And then you let go of judgment. I was passing judgment on myself, and I had to let go of that. But I was also passing judgment on others. I used to think I was better than others. And I owned that about myself. I had this level of arrogance. And I'm still working on it, guys, but I'm trying to let go of just passing judgment on others and just recognizing we are all humans, drops from the same ocean. And then finally, dare. Dare to do something. Take a bold step forward and act with courage. And sometimes it's just a small step, but something in the right direction. Because after you've embraced the pain or whatever it is, the struggle, the change, the anxiety, disruption, challenges, and you let go of it, all the things, then you can dare. When we grow as individuals, our teams grow, which means our organizations grow. And we can create limitless possibility for ourselves and the people around us in a way that's unheralded. So I challenge you today. We will all struggle. How will you rise through it? Thanks.